the 4 points I wanted to make today are: one, there's no better place to build a business than Silicon Beach. Two, technology is truly making our lives better. Three, there's never been a better time to be alive than this time, despite what the naysayers say. And the fourth, with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek humor and some fun, what is sexy in today's age? First, Silicon Beach. You may have seen earlier this year we were really delighted to have coverage in the Huffington Post and the Journal of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the title was LA Story, Santa Monica Takes the Startup World by Storm. And the article and the author of the article tried to delve into why we are having a boom of startups in this West LA, Silicon Beach area. And first of all, if you don't know, in this area there's a greater concentration of startups per square mile than anywhere in the entire world. We beat Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has more, but they're quite spread out. But it's a great start, and it's pretty cool to have that distinction. I was lucky to be interviewed in this occasion, and when I was asked the question, I was thinking of Jude, and my reply of what makes Silicon Beach and Los Angeles special was this: in the modern age, whether you like it or not, all companies are media companies. No matter how great a product you have, if your story doesn't get out, doesn't get heard, doesn't get understood, doesn't engage people, you're not going to get very far. And there's no better place at crafting storytelling, at crafting the communication of a vision than this area that we're living in. We are living in the best place to start a business in the modern age that there is anywhere on the planet, and it's showing in the recent growth that we've had. The second thing I want to talk about is technology. This is a heart-centered tech. Heart-centered technology is one of the things that is a driving force for this movement. My definition of technology for most of my life has been working in technology to try to treat people that have heart and cardiovascular disease. And I can tell you from the front lines that there's not only is this the best time to be alive, I would argue that it's also the best time to be sick, because we are making advances in the care of patients that take great leaps forward, that improve things monumentally better than they have been improved in the last 1,000 years. I've been involved with stem cell therapy, and in very simple terms, without going into a lot of detail, the human body, the human heart, our pacemakers, our heart valves, our blood vessels, our heart is made of living cells, and there's absolutely no better way to repair them than using your own living cells. And we feel very blessed to be one of the leaders in this movement, and we really believe in it. Another thing is the technology of helping startups to get off the ground, to be able to get further, and to advance their business with much less startup capital and much further than would have been possible in the 1960s or 1970s or 80s or even 90s. It's really a special time to be opening a business, because the technology allows you to basically operate a business from anywhere. You can operate your business from your phone, and you can do it at less cost, and you can do so much more. And then the other thing that's happening that's coinciding with that is, because of technology and platforms like YouTube and like Blip TV, the gatekeeper system that used to kind of artificially hold down opportunity to an elite few that maybe had the contacts to get through the gatekeepers and the barriers, they're no longer relevant. In fact, it's almost amazing that Macy Kate, she is a 17-year-old girl in Boston, goes in the garage with her friends, she creates a video, and she gets 8 million views within the first week that the video is out. And I got to believe, I don't know her, I never met her, but I got to believe that she probably doesn't quite understand the monumental impact of that. The first year that the Beatles sold the records in the entire United States, they only sold 30,000 records. And yet Macy Kate, who's almost unknown, without any gatekeepers, no record company, 8 million views within a week. I mean, it's a monumental time to be alive. And the fact that the gatekeepers are not there really opens up greater opportunity than has ever been present in the history of the planet. And then comes crowdfunding. And those who know me, I've been passionate spokesperson. I actually am the official state spokesperson for crowdfunding and the Jobs Act for the state of California. Thank you. Through Startup California and the Startup America Partnership. It's something I believe is about to change the world and the United States in particular in a bigger way than anyone has measured. For me, we took our company BioHeart, a company that used stem cells to regenerate damaged heart muscle. We took that company public in 2008. We were the only biotech IPO in the whole United States in 2008, which in itself showed that there's some broken problems with the American financial system as it existed in 2008. And it cost us $4.8 million of legal costs, regulatory costs, accounting costs, insurance costs, banking costs to raise $7 million. And we were raising $7 million to finish the final phase 3 clinical trial that we think is a product that's going to save 25 million lives over the next decade, create a lot of jobs. And we were stifled because of the high cost involved with raising capital. So after I went through that experience, my first thought when I got the bill for $4.8 million after we just raised under $7 million was to go to Congress and just start punching people. But I decided that might not be exactly the best idea, despite the fact that I was angry. And I had a right to be angry because that money was supposed to go to saving lives, it was supposed to go to clinical trials, it was supposed to go to people doing real work and not to bureaucratic regulatory expenses that I felt didn't add any value, and they're supposed to be with the purpose of protecting investors, and I think they were actually hurting investors more than they were protecting by taking the money away from the people doing the real work. So I got involved with reform. I had no idea about reform. I won't tell you the whole long story, but at the first time that I went up there, I sat in an office and waited for a senator to come out, waited 2 hours. He didn't come out, so I'm telling a young intern all my trials and tribulations, and she's taking notes, and that's it, and I didn't get very far at all. But eventually I met up with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I met up with the people that eventually formed the Startup America Partnership. They had a little more clout than I had on my own, and I kind of contributed as a small cog to this big wheel that eventually passed the Jobs Act, which was really monumental. It changed laws that were in place since 1933, and without going through all the details, it greatly reduces the cost and complexity of raising capital, and it greatly opens up opportunity for more people, especially common, ordinary people, to be able to raise capital at less cost and less complexity. And April of 2012 came about, and I got an invitation to come to the White House and to the Rose Garden to be with our president for the signing of the Jobs Act, which no matter what other experiences you have in your life, to be invited by the White House to the Rose Garden, it was a big experience in my life. I had goosebumps. And when the president signed the Jobs Act, I had tingles in my spine, and I exclaimed to people afterwards that I felt like I was watching something as important as signing the Emancipation Proclamation. And not to take away in any way the importance of that, but the reason I felt that way is because I feel so strongly about the people that were kind of held back from the good old boys network and the good old system that existed before. Just to give one example, the example of women. In the past 20 years, women have only accessed about 5% of the venture financing dollars in the entire United States, despite the fact that, very good news, that women now are owning very close to 50% of the businesses in the United States. But that's good news. This law kind of breaks through a lot of the barriers that were causing that disparity of only 5%. And I'm ashamed of that there's no financial reason, there's no logical reason that there was this imbalance. What was the reason is that the old law said that you could only sell your shares to millionaires that you already had a substantial existing relationship with, which basically was the golf country club crowd. And if you go to a golf country club, you tend to see white, gray-haired guys, and you don't see a lot of women, you don't see a lot of minorities, and you don't see a lot of people from blue-collar backgrounds like myself or from middle-class, ordinary middle-class families. And this law was kind of, with good intent back in the 30s, but it ended up, creating a big problem for raising capital. So now comes crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, you can put your offering on Facebook, you can put it on LinkedIn, you can bring it out in meetings like this, you can get small amounts from a lot of different people. And this is going to make a big, gigantic difference. Now, in case you don't know, equity crowdfunding, as I'm describing it, is not fully activated yet. The law passed, by the way, one of the also great days of my life, when it went to Congress, we worked so hard, we were worried if we were going to be able to get it through, and it came through in two parts. The first, we waited for the vote came through 421 to 1. So we not only won the vote, but we slaughtered it. And the other vote, which is truly the Title III crowdfunding that I'm talking about, was 407 to 17. Every Republican and Democrat in California, every representative of California voted yes. And so this is overwhelmingly the will of the people. Congress mandated the SEC to implement the rules by December 31st of 2012. They haven't done it yet. And it's just like absolutely flabbergasting, because this wasn't like a suggestion like, you know, if you get around to it, could you please, you know, implement this? It was a congressional mandate, and they ignore it. And it's so frustrating for all the people involved. And I personally believe that when it is fully implemented, it's going to usher in the greatest era of creativity, of economic growth that the world has ever known. Being able to get small amounts from a lot of people has already made a difference in other fields. Our current president, many people would argue that the $100 million and under $200 donations he got was the prime driver that allowed somebody like him to get in, despite the fact that very big money interests didn't want him to get in, but the will of the people prevailed because of the ability to crowdfund a president. Well, that same kind of power is going to be now applied to businesses and to startups and helping people to follow their dreams. So it's a very special time. I want to talk a little bit about a few other things, one of which is the use of technology in other aspects. One of the exciting things for us here in Santa Monica is we're about to have, and Venice, to have the light rail come through. And this is going to be a really big event for us next year. We'll be able to go down to Los Angeles with supposedly with no traffic and no delays. So this is
across campus, right next to the station.
It's just an amazing development for us living here. The third thing I wanted to talk about was there's no better time to be alive. And one of the statements that came from a book by Robin Sharma, one of my favorite authors, is the statement, one of the top human regrets is that you reach the last day of your life, you reach your last breath with the song that was meant to be you still silent within you. And you know, we're alive now, and we don't have to be on our last day yet, or last breath, or hopefully not. And you have an opportunity to change that and to write your own story, to have the pen for the story of your life in your hand and somebody else's hand. So, you know, coming out of tonight, I hope being around all these people who are pursuing dreams themselves, if you're somehow not living your life purpose and not doing what you really want to do with your life, it's a good time to maybe start doing that.
And stay tuned for the game of you.
The last thing I wanted to say is anyone see the Teen Choice Award speech by Ashton Kutcher? One did. Incredibly enough, you know, he is what he is, and he's been part of our lives in different ways, and maybe kind of a silly actor here and there. But he gave one of the most important speeches I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
So in this speech, he's talking to young people, and really quickly he walked through the fact that every job he had, he was grateful to have that job, and he cherished that job, and that any job that you have, you feel lucky to have it. The second thing he talked about was that opportunity has a strange way of looking like hard work, and opportunity, it comes from hard work. The third thing he talked about is that everything you see around you, and he took this from the movie Jobs, where he played Steve Jobs. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. And he talked about the fact that everything you see around you, every invention, was created by somebody that's no better than you, and that you should go out and create a life. Don't just ride along. You know, we all have an opportunity to create, and this idea that some people have that somehow the people that are creating these things, that are doing these great things, are somehow better than them, it's just not true. The truth is, these people are not any better than you are. The fourth thing he talked about was being sexy. And this is a sexy community, Silicon Beach. And what he talked about that I wanted to share was that being sexy, what's sexy is being really smart and being considerate and kind and giving. And in the last month, I had a chance to go to Denmark and to Sweden. And Denmark, if you don't know, is designated as the happiest nation in the world. Oprah went over there and did a bunch of interviews. And I was kind of sitting back observing, like, first of all, is it really happy? And I was observing that, yes, people are pretty happy. And then I started to observe why, or started to think about why. And I was in a park, saw a bunch of people kissing, blankets out, everybody having a good time on the weekend. And all of a sudden, it hit me. And the reason that I believe, my personal opinion of why Denmark is the happiest country in the world, is because what is sexy there and what causes the very beautiful ladies of Denmark to kiss the boys of Denmark and to think that they're sexy is they direct their love to people that treat people well, that are considerate, that treat the person at the door the same way you would treat the president of a university, that have a sense of purpose to their life above and beyond just making money. And that simple key societal element, the fact that the boys want to kiss the girls, and the girls are directing the fact that they only value men that are treating people right and are acting and behaving in a way that makes for a better country. So let's do that here.
Great, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, very nice. Yeah, couldn't be a better speech to go with the point of the evening. So we have one more bottle of delicious Leonhardt winery here. So is there like a single guy in the audience at all? Any bachelors? Come off it. All right, there's a bachelor. Is there any single women? I'm going to make this really embarrassing. Guess what? You two have to share it. So meet each other, mingle, meet each other, engage. It's about engagement, right? It's about engagement. Thank you all so much for joining Charlie, myself, for the Hyperator tonight. Also, Anna Young, Silicon Beach Strategies, which will hopefully one day be an LLC in the Hyperator. As we evolve our community into a kind of online magazine type of setting with everyone that I've met over the past couple of years kind of feeding in information to the community. So that was actually Anna putting that together. As I spun around doing my shows, she just formed a whole company around it, and she's brilliant at things like that. On assignment right now at the Israel conference happening October 30th and 31st, I believe. 700 tech startups from Tel Aviv coming over here. So thank you for bringing an international market. And Charlie Trinh, you have anything you want to say as we're going to wrap this up? So
you guys are all welcome to continue the conversation. I think a lot of you guys probably started moving those cogs. I'm very interested in continuing this conversation. But again, just continue conversation with us anytime, any day, online, so we can continue this further in the next year or two. We'll probably say, we reach world peace. What do we do next, right? Thank you very much.
Drew Stewart is volunteering tonight. I want to send a plug out to him. He has Juicy Media. He's a videographer in town.
Okay,
and he has a special heart in that he, again and again, either accepts shares or reduced pay. He should be getting paid a lot more. He should be getting paid more tonight.
Oh, well, he's getting paid. He's very happy.
He
So
purposefully
got
works for
wine.
causes he believes in. If he believes in what you're doing, he's likely to reduce his rate, give extended payment terms, and that's a special heart, and he's a special part of the community. Drew Stewart of Juicy Media.
Excellent. Very good. Well, we got to give Jason a plug, too. Our other guy, we can't leave him alone. Jason's got a beautiful company as well. The two of them make an amazing package, too.
Very heart-centered.
And very heart-centered camera guys. Everyone's wonderfully heart-centered here, so I don't think, if you're not, get out now. Anyone have any questions or anything before we wrap the night up? I just wanted to see if anyone had anything they wanted to discuss or bring up.
When's your next meeting?
We're looking to do a hackathon here in Los Angeles, but we may have another speaker engagement meeting of another heart-centered company that will fall into our category. So stay in touch with the social media. Yes,
I have a
Good.
question for Howard.
sure.
Can you talk a little bit about the television show that you're working on that's sort of related to inspiration?
Thanks
Yeah,
for that.
come on up.
In part with the inspiration of Jude and our invitation both to Drew and Stuart and others who I know to be involved, we formed the Kleinhardt Lionheart TV network. If everybody knows the story of Maker Studio, it's a big story here in Los Angeles, at Culver City. They built up independent online TV network and they sold it to Disney. We are creating a TV network to try to be to support inspirational works. We want to have Silicon Beach on that as well as Blip TV.
Another platform,
It's a nice project. Thanks for the opportunity. And we have a particular show that we're leading forward with, which is called California Love, California-love.co. We've registered with SAG and IMDb, and we're going to start shooting in November. And it's kind of a young lead-in to try to get a youthful audience. And once they get in, we're going to divert them to more serious subjects like avoiding pollution and plastic and things like that. But this one is about love. And it's every episode is going to be 3 stories of people who meet each other and then the obstacles of getting together. And it's kind of fun and sexy. With some heart-centered leadership.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for hearing our presentation. And please stay in touch. And go to the social sites to find out when our next event's going to happen.